Will you consider this? There is something very troubling in our world today, and we're going to address it with Jill Sisk and Julie Herzog, and they are with the Children's Advocacy Center serving Tazewell, Woodford, and Mason Counties. Yep. So, and it has to do with children being abused, which is very unfortunate, but thank you very much for what you're doing. First of all, let's start with you, Jill. How did you get involved in the CAC?
A friend of mine was on the board already and asked if I wanted to join and help out, and I did. And honestly, I didn't think that I would be as long as I have. It's been, I think, 12 years now, but it's just such an opportunity really to do something in the community that you can actually see the immediate results. The
Right.
money we raise goes towards counseling, goes to other services, and so you can see how much a difference it makes.
All right. And Julie, now I met you years ago on the advocacy committee for the Children's Hospital of Illinois. So you're still advocating for kids.
I'm still advocating for kids, yeah. I've been advocating for kids for the last 30 plus years. And I was doing it more often in the community and stepped away from a position and started working remote and was really looking for more ways to be able to engage and be a champion for kids. And so one of my friends and former colleagues was on the board already, so I started helping out.
Good. Well, now tell me everything, I mean in a certain order, what goes on at the Children's Advocacy Center? I know that you have different programs and outreach. First of all, let me back up, statistics. That is very troubling, the statistics of the numbers of kids who are abused and the ages. So which one of you would like to address that?
Well, you're right, it is very troubling. And unfortunately, for all that we see in the community and even nationwide trying to address it, the statistics haven't got any better really throughout the years. I think one thing that we have noticed is that people are reporting it more. So some of the programs in schools and stuff have actually helped in that kids are coming forward and reporting it. So where we are helping, but the statistics don't really show it because people are reporting it. It may not be happening as often or as bad, but kids are reporting it now, which is a good thing. So that's one of the sides of it, make a difference.
1 in 5 girls, is that what it is?
1 in 4.
1 in 4 girls will be sexually abused.
By the age of 18.
And boys?
Boys also, which is a misconception that it's, you know, all girls and not boys. But boys, the numbers there are kind of, they depending on who you listen to, but it can be as high as 1 in 6 in certain areas, or say 1 in 10. It's kind of an average.
And then you have programs that you go into the schools, and you also, you can present to the PTAs and other parents groups and things like that in order to let them know, again, if you see something, say something, or if your child reports something or is having some kind of different behavior that you can suspect something. Julie?
Yeah, those are just some of the things that they do, but primarily they're focused on ensuring that a child has a safe environment to talk about what's happening in their lives. And the funds that we raise go towards that, and ensuring that kids have the confidence to come forward and don't feel scared, and making sure that they continue to stay safe.
So when you go into the schools to make this presentation to kids, you have to get approval from the parents first in order to make the presentation, to let them know about their safe bodies?
Right. The presentations, the program is always age appropriate, but it is, the schools will send a note home first to say this is going to happen. If you don't want your child involved, let us know and we'll back them out.
So age appropriate, what age do you start?
It's actually pre-kindergarten. The program can really start talking about safe body, that sort of thing. And obviously, as you get older, it gets much more into, you know.
Much more detailed, yes.
Yeah, more so like appropriate places for an adult or someone else to touch the child.
Well, I had a grandchild say, well, you can see me in my underwear because you're family. We were getting ready for school, so
Well, that's good that she's aware of that, or
Yeah.
he's
but
aware of that.
But that was good, and it's like they finally got through. So how about the statistics in your Tri-County region, so Tazewell, Woodford, and Mason County? Are the numbers the same as national average? Are you able to reach more people through all of your programming and outreach?
I really don't know how they would compare to national. Unfortunately, what we have seen is an uptick in cases. Pre-pandemic, the CAC was seeing probably about 225 on average kids a year, and since 2020, the number now last year was 345. And again, kids are reporting it, so we know that's part of it, but still alarming that it continues to rise like that.
And why do you think that? Because of homeschooling, or why do you think that?
What we heard was like during the pandemic, when folks had to work but couldn't take their kids to daycare, right? They would find a cousin, they would find somebody just to watch their kids. So there was definitely some of that going on back when things weren't normal on the working conditions. But really, I think they attribute it to kids coming forward more and that awareness in the community to say something, like you mentioned before.
Okay. And
I'd
Jim?
also add into, during the pandemic, kids were at home. And so, teachers and doctors and the different people that were seeing the kids more often are often the mandated reporters. So there were not extra eyes on the kids. So that may have increased some of the numbers as well. Now that, they're back in the school, they're back doing their regular activities, and people have more interactions with the children.
And I read one of the statistics. Most of this abuse is not a stranger.
Right.
And what are those stats?
Yeah, definitely. It depends on which site you look at, but anywhere between 5 to 10% are from strangers. The rest of it, 90-some percent, is somebody they know, somebody the family trusts.
It really is very disturbing. But you are in the communities, and people know about you. So how do they contact you, or how do they find out about you, or how did this all come about? Because we've had one in Peoria for a while, and then yours is how old is the CAC?
1999
Okay.
was when it was put in place, and it is based on the law that says every county has to have a program to address the identification, treatment, and prosecution for child abuse cases. So every county is supposed to have one. So that's how it came about in 1999. And from there, they set up in what we used to call a little white house in Pekin. It's a family setting. Right, so the kids get to come to what looks like a normal house. They will be interviewed by trained professionals that know what they're doing, know the age-appropriate type of scenario. But the setting isn't intimidating to the kids. It keeps them out of having to go to the police station. And then the other thing that's really nice about it is they bring the different police, DCFS, whatever the agency is that needs to also be a part of this case, they come to the CAC.
To the little White House.
Yeah, they come to the White House. And the kids are interviewed when they're doing, that initial interview. So it's not like they have to repeat the story
Right, just
to multiple
once.
different, agencies and folks. So it really is meant to make it as easy as possible on the child, but also their families, right? They know they have a place to come to. That's where the counseling is done.
It takes place,
the
too.
free counseling for anybody that has been through something like this.
So when the kids are telling their story, do they know that all the other people, that the police officers there, do they know all those people, DCFS are there also, or they're just talking to the counselor?
They're really just talking to the counselor.
Okay.
I mean, if they're older, obviously, they're probably aware that there's going to be other people. But it's in a room, you know, that just looks like a normal room. And there's actually a couple different rooms, one more childish and one for, you know, perhaps a little bit older. But they're really just talking, answering questions, telling their story to that one trained professional.
But it's not intimidating to them. And that's the best thing. And that's where you get the truth from the kids when they don't feel the pressure.
Right, and you don't want to re-traumatize them. I mean,
No.
they've already gone through a trauma and whatever situations happened. So we want to decrease the trauma as much as possible, make them safe, feel comfortable. That's really hard to tell someone in general that someone's hurting you, not alone, you know, a child that has to now open up to people they don't really know.
Right.
So this creates a comfortable, friendly environment that they feel supported in.
And you said, so you follow the process to prosecution. So are you advocates there? Are you speaking for the child when it comes to prosecution, or what?
Advocacy, yes. Really the interview tapes and those things is what is going to be speaking for the child. But the CAC will help them prepare for the court if they have to do a court appearance. We'll help them prepare for that, and then really follow them throughout that whole process. Even to the point where if they didn't feel that they had like clothes to appear in court, they will get them clothes so they feel more comfortable in going in and making that court appearance if that's required. We really hope that the tape does the job for them and they don't have to do that.
Right, but so that would be the in-camera interview.
But if they have to, the CAC supports them throughout all that, all the way through, like I said, the counseling, which is really critical for the kids.
And you said that, so you are training people, you're even training parents on how to report and what to look for. Is that right, in some of your education programs?
Yeah, you can show them the signs and signals of various things and the different age groups. Now, Jill, did you want to expand on that? Like, do you know more about
the signs and signals?
Yeah.
It's really the program in the school that gets the most focus. We try to do things out in the community from an awareness perspective, but the focus of the CAC really is to support and fund the school programs that in our community will then educate the children.
So how many schools do you know the number of schools in the 3 counties? So you're talking grade school, middle school, and high school?
All public schools are required to have the program. When it first started, after Aaron's Law was passed in 2011, there wasn't anybody, right? There weren't professionals out there that could do it. So we actually had at the CAC somebody that went around to the schools, really busy, right, trying to cover
Service all
the,
of them,
the
right?
different schools. But since then, the schools have picked up and continued the program on their own. So every public school should have a program.
So teachers are anxious to have this also in their classrooms because it helps them. And so it also helps the kids to come forward to the teachers if the teachers know how to respond to whatever a kid might say when they first walk into school, something happened yesterday or something. Yeah, it's just really, this world, it's a great place to live if everybody gets the right message.
Right.
That's for sure. So you do have a lot of other messages. So what other kind of programs then do you offer throughout the year?
Well, the programs really don't change. It's a standard set, really focusing on, as I said, following the case from the start to the finish.
And how long does that usually take? Is there an average?
Yeah, it just all depends. I don't know of any really set time for that. So the programs we actually, Julia and I, are most involved in is the fundraising aspect of it.
Okay.
That side of it. Because everyone knows that, right, funds from the government, the grants are, not what they used to be years ago.
Right.
And so the fundraising to continue those services has become more and more important.
All right.
And so that's really our focus on the Friends Board, is how do we raise the funds to keep the counseling available, to make those programs available in the schools.
Okay. So what kind of fundraising do you do? And I know you have some partners, so, you have some major, I guess, sponsors, right? Is that how it works? Or Julie? You've been a fundraiser for a long time.
I've been a fundraiser for a very short time, but I think mostly it's donations and sponsorships during the events that we have. They've held, I say they, the CAC prior to me held like a trivia night, and they did dueling pianos. Our most successful current ones, last year we held our first golf outing, and we had over 30 sponsors for that and 12 teams, and made it a really fun event, raising $4,000.
And how many programs will that help? I mean,
I don't know on hand, but it also goes towards, Jill talked about clothing to go to court, for day-to-day services. Like, we just are paying for like flooring and different things in the building. And that may seem like it may not be connected, but it really is, in order to have that safe environment.
exactly.
So the funds go to various things. I mean, it could be even stuffed animals for the kids, just to make them feel like a little
they're
kid
loved.
and they're
Exactly.
loved.
Yeah.
So we have our second annual golf outing coming up on April 26th.
All right.
And we are in the process of doing registration for golfers. It's $90 per golfer, or $360 for a team of 4. And then we also have sponsoring opportunities from different levels.
So whole sponsors and contest sponsors and food and all that kind
Exactly.
of stuff.
The goal is to make it a fun event, but yet also raise awareness. And we have it during April, and I'm not sure if you know what April is.
Child
Prevention Awareness Month.
Okay.
So we figured we could heighten and raise awareness
That way.
about child abuse, and also raise the funds at the same time.
A twofer.
A
It's
twofer.
always good. It's always good.
Exactly.
And that's April 26th. you
April
said.
26th, it's at the Parkview Golf Course in Pekin.
Okay.
And like I said, we are still taking sponsors, and we're trying to get the word out. We're still registering golfers. We just want to make sure that this is a profitable event.
Fundraising, and awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
good
Because like
goals.
Jill said, grants are pretty, I've always been in grant world. And some years it's great and some years it's not. And right now it's pretty scary. So we also want to make sure, and granted $4,000 doesn't go far, but we continue to fundraise and do different activities so that we can continue to help support as much as possible.
And the more you get the word out, the more awareness there is, and the more likely you are to get a check from somebody who wants to help in some way.
We do an annual appeal every year, obviously annual, but where to past sponsors and folks that have donate, we send out a letter, and it's just no programs attached to it. It's just a reminder of what the CAC does, and ask for a donation. And so that is one way folks can help.
Okay.
If they're not not into golf and not attending, right? They can always just straight donate through the annual appeal.
That's right.
Yep.
Money's money, dollar signs.
Yep.
So do you have any people who continue to support you who were serviced through the CAC over the years? Have there been any they're now adults that have come forward and?
We are not allowed to know that, because we're not privy to any of the cases that go on,
Okay.
or names of any of the kids. We do have had in the past folks set up trust, right,
Okay.
and have that donated to the CAC. could be just out of the goodness of the heart, or it could be because they are, know
Because they-
somebody.
right.
But yeah, we wouldn't know that. That's kept very confidential.
Well,
on
that's a
that
good
side
thing
of it.
to know also.
Yeah.
But you do know that you have some successes. Over the years, you've had some successes. And then what happens to the perps? I mean, how much jail time do they get, or do you have any idea? No?
I think that's a case-by-case situation,
Yeah.
depending
Okay.
on what the situation is.
It's really up to the state's attorney
Yep.
at that point to.
So you work closely with the state's attorney's office and with the sheriff's department and the police department and DCFS, and obviously family members who are supporting this child and need to get the child to and from appointments and things. It's a whole big, I mean, it is a village that is taking care of these kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So where do you go from here? What do you do after this? You got to keep raising money. All right.
Keep raising money, and really one thing that I think that we need to continue is to find folks like Julie that are willing to help, because to do some of these programs takes a lot of people. And we have people that, past board members that will help out on special events just because we need more bodies. But really, if folks have any time at all, there's some use we probably could find for, their talents. If they do bookkeeping, we have to do bookkeeping, right? We have a website. It needs website administration. Currently, that's something I'm doing. Okay. I'm by no means qualified to do it.
Well, let's hear what that website is really fast before I forget. What is it?
It's Tazewellcac.org.
Okay.
And you go on to it, and it talks about all the services. And we just redesigned it a few years ago, and now up in the top right corner, there's an exit button. So if somebody's on the site and somebody walks by and they don't want anybody, it's literally one click and it's all gone.
Okay.
So that was something that was added. But we talk about the events on there, so folks can go there to find the golf outing. They can see the past events we've done. So the trivia night, we did a Halloween party. We're doing another party at the end of the summer, which is going to be kind of like a summer throwback music type party with a band. So they can find information there. It's really some of the things we've talked about today are all out on that website.
Right. Well, and it's good to get people awareness and get them involved in some way, and just small ways, because you said you kind of were drawn in. And you were too. It's like somebody's doing a little something, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that kind of rattled jingled my little bell in my brain.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, so you look like you need to say something,
I was
Julie?
just going to say, again, I've been in this for a long time as far as working with kids and families, and I just think that the awareness needs to be greater. I just think people do not want to think about it of child abuse.
Right.
And they don't know what the great impact is in the communities. They think it's always going to help in somewhere else. So continuing to raise awareness and make sure that people understand this is happening, and understanding what those sign signals are, and then continuing to raise funds to support it.
Yeah, don't look the other way.
Correct.
Because it is going on right underneath our noses. Yeah, and well, all right, so you're going to have a couple of good events that will generate a lot of good stuff for you, and for kids and their families as well. But the kids really need it, and that's the whole thing. So and you're a mom, and you're a mom, and a grandma. You're not a grandma yet.
I am.
Are you? Okay, so we know that this is really something that we have to keep an eye on. All right. So how do we encourage people to volunteer? Where would be the first place that you'd want them to volunteer? Not bookkeeping. Don't ask me.
I don't want to do bookkeeping either. That's not my forte.
Honestly, the Friends Board, we kind of have the directors who have to do the mundane stuff, right? You have to pass, voting on spending money and that kind of thing. And that's where we have a treasurer, and we have the kind of record keeper,
Okay.
those kind of functions. Those things,
But they can get in there and they can,
if they have that kind of, like, if they
Skill.
want to do accounting or bookkeeping, that kind of thing, we could certainly use them from that
Okay.
perspective. But then we have really what we call the fundraising committee.
and that's you guys.
It's
All right.
With several
FU
others.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
We spell it FUN capital,
Right. Good.
then the rest raising.
I like
and
that.
that's where really anybody can be a part of
Can
that.
pitch in.
If they don't, want to come to our monthly meetings, but they want to help out in the events,
Go for it.
we can use them there.
All
if
right.
they have ideas, love people that come in with
Ideas
ideas.
are good, too. Mm-hmm.
Try new things. We got a little stagnant, to be honest, with our trivia night.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a huge fundraiser for us, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 every year. That was just the only thing we really needed to do.
Okay, but now you need to change
But
it.
then that went away
right.
after the pandemic, and
Okay.
so we're doing smaller, more frequent type programs.
Well, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
All right.
and new ideas. I mean, always can use new ideas.
I like ideas. If my brain functions, it's even good. Thanks so much, ladies, for being here. And I hope you learned a lot about the CAC. And until next time, be well.